Hello, I'm Katri Kolesnik, Head of Business Technology Forum. This is the 8th video of a series of interviews with business technology leaders. This year we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of Business Technology Standard, and we decided to interview some CIOs and other business technology leaders from some of the most successful private and public sector organizations and share it through Business Technology Forum. Our 8th interview is with Rashmi Kasat, Vice President, Head of Digital Technologies at Metso Outotec. I met Rashmi in Espoo, Finland, where she is located, to talk about business technology past, present and future. Hello Rashmi, it's very nice to have you here for this interview. Thank you for coming. Maybe we could start by looking back at your career, and could you just tell a few things you have been doing within IT and also other positions that you have had.
Thank you first of all, Katri, for having me here. It's my pleasure to be here and talk to you this evening. So my journey. Well, if I have to summarize in a nutshell, I would say I started with being a consultant, at least here in Finland, working with client assignments on SAP projects, big industrial companies in the Nordics. So this was the client and this was me, so outside their business, right? Then I came a little bit closer, leading business inside this IT consulting firm in Finland, leading the SAP business in the digital practice. Then 3.5 years ago, I had this wonderful opportunity to move to Metso in a digital transformation leader's role in our corporate digital office. So I moved even a little bit more closer to the client's business. And nowadays, starting July or August of this year, I lead digital technologies for one of our businesses inside Metso Outotec. So now I am in the business. So if I have to show my journey visually, it has been going closer and closer to the business, and now I'm in the business.
What about when you started your career, and I'm thinking about your educational background? So was it only IT or was there other studies as well?
Good question. Actually, there was no IT. It was electronics engineering. So basically working with sensors, microprocessors, microcontrollers, and zeros and ones. So digital engineering, well, basically one might say more the hardware part of it. But then I also have done education in business here from Finland, from Hanken, executive MBA, and I think I might know a little bit about how to run a sizable size of business.
Now that you've seen this different domains from the vendor perspective, and then from the IT, maybe internal IT perspective, and now from the business perspective as
right.
well. And thinking about how the business has changed, so that the technology is more and more important part of anything we do
right.
within business. Back in the day, I guess it was a lot IT's responsibility to be in charge of everything and making decisions about what kind of technological solutions we choose and how to use them. But now that it's more a business's tool to do the business, so how have you seen this relationship and the ownership especially changing?
A very intriguing question indeed. This is something I have been also pondering and following actually throughout my career, that 10 years ago, if you had asked me where I spent my time with customers, it was about being one company in ways of working internally, having tools that make companies very efficient operationally. As an example, ERP systems or CRM systems or these kind of company-wide enterprise tools. And their technology decisions were made typically, or at least the technology proposals were made by IT and the businesses were approving it, right? And we were working as consultants very close with the business to implement those tools for the needs of the business. Now 10 years from that day, I see we're talking about technologies that bring revenue So literally a commercializable, even if that is that a word? Literally something that can be commercialized and that can be monetized. So this then becomes core business because you're going to be developing it and you're going to be selling it. This becomes the responsibility of the business. So making technologies or developing technologies that bring value for our customers and that bring value for our company, basically. So this is the spectrum that I have seen, at least from a change perspective, moving from internal efficiency to customer-facing technologies and technologies that enable good customer experience. Does that make sense to you?
Very much, yes. And now thinking more about that aspect, what about the competencies then? Because if we think that there has been this kind of big shift of how do you make business and what is business, so how do we make sure, and on how do you see how can business make sure that they have the competence that is needed?
First, let's start with what are the competences that we need, at least from the past. Since technology becomes business and becomes part of the core business eventually, the people who run the current business need to have that technology acumen. Because if they don't have the technology acumen, they are not going to develop, commercialize offerings for the market, right? They know they are, as an example, in our industry, we know our iron and steel machines from back or from the front. We know it in and out. But do we know what kind of sensors go into it, what kind of smart automation can go into it, as much as we know the machines? We do, but we need to now know even better. We need to get on top of that spectrum of technology. And then on the IT side, so this is the technology acumen, if you will, we need more business acumen. That how do we have a more business development kind of mindset when looking at technology and when picking technology? Technology that is mature, that can scale easily, that is cost efficient, and that is, like we say in our business, something that is simple to make, simple to install, simple to run, and costs not too much, right? So this acumen on both sides, technology and business, is starting to be very important. What both of us need to have, business, IT, or whoever we are, we also need to have communication skills. Because if we have a great technology and somebody knows how to make it, bundle it into an offer, but we can't communicate it to our clients, what problem it solves for them, then it doesn't make any sense at all. So communication skills, soft skills, and internally collaboration skills. A good example, I was talking to some leaders and I was talking about the word digital. And they said, please define what is digital to you from our business perspective. And you start to really have a real dialogue about very important things. So this is not just a definition of digital, but it's about what you define digital defines then sort of also our growth ambitions, as an example. So then I had to really come down with a very sharp definition of what is digital in our context, as an example. So ability to also translate in the right language to each other.
Then thinking about you and your competence needs and thinking that you've been in both sides, what do you find most challenging? The business side, understanding the business side, or understanding the IT, or what it is?
I'll take 2 steps back on that question. You are referring to business and IT of one company, right? My complexity is far more. I am nowadays with my team dealing with the IT of our customers. Because when you are a machine manufacturing company, equipment services company, we are talking about industrial IoT. We are talking about connected equipments and things like that. When you have to connect an equipment that we've sold to our customer, it means going into their firewall and connecting those to the cloud, right? So who do you talk to? You have to talk to the customer's IT. So I would say that the complexity of all these different groups has even increased, or the communication complexity has even increased, and the need for communication has increased even farfold or manyfold. So now coming back to your original question, what is more complex? So I think as you go out of the business spectrum, it starts to get more complex, because there is more need for communications. There is more need for bringing people on the same page about costs, about speed, about the importance, the value, etc. And this is the more complex part, in my view. First, going a little bit away from the business and doing that communication, and then going out of the company and doing the communication to get things done.
So what about if I ask you what you love most?
Actually, I love the job that I currently do. It's really intriguing, very exciting, because our ambition is to go from being this traditional, machine OEM, original equipment manufacturer and service provider, to being a solutions and service provider to our customers, right? With all this digitalization and sustainability innovations. So our relationship with our customers actually starts from the day when we ship the machines to them, and not stop on the day when we ship the machine. So I think we have to take this service mindset, and this is where people like us who come from technology background, who come from more this soft services background, can play a big role. And I'm in that sweet spot place right now, so I couldn't complain.
Now, talking about the business technology standard, and you said that you might not have used it, but as a matter of fact, I do know that you've been using it, because when working one of my colleagues, I know that you were creating what you call digital garage.
Correct.
And within that you had the concept development model, and actually it's one of these boxes over here, the innovations and concepts, and that is coming from this open source standard. So how do you feel that using this kind of models and frameworks, and do you think that they are needed?
Firstly, thank you for reminding me where that Digital Garage original model came from. So nice to hear about the background. And second, compliments also on the model. It was really a very good model. I know that it inspired a lot of people in our company, both in our technology division and also in the businesses, to bring new ideas and to get them done faster in terms of at least the initial pilots and prototypes. So that was very good. Third, still continuing about that, it was also very much liked by the peers to whom I showed in the industry, and also to customers. Actually, one of the customers asked me to send that over to them. So this is a good bridge now to your question, that what is the importance of all these frameworks? And I think the answer was just right there, that it is we don't need to reinvent the wheel every time we do similar things in businesses. So we can share a lot of these best practices, which are not any confidential or trademark or any of that. And so that's one part of it. We can share and get benefit, but then comes immediately the other part of it. To get some, we have to give some. And then we have to also participate in making these kind of standards and frameworks.
Yes, exactly. And that is exactly the idea behind the business technology standards. So there are organizations and companies, Metso included, or Metso Outotec included, who have contributed to the development of the model.
Yeah.
So whenever there is a need for a specific model for a specific need or things to be done, so there can be this kind of co-creation project where together with the Business Technology Forum, which is a non-profit organization, and then together with this development company, we create a model. And like for example, how the concept development model was created, there was Kemira and Orion who needed this model. So the model was first created for them, but as it was part of this co-creation type of work, the IPRs vested in the Business Technology Forum, and therefore it can be shared with anybody. So this is a totally open source, and anybody can use it.
Thank you for sharing that with me when I was running the digital garage. It really worked.
So how do you find then this type of community work or open source development, where we really, as you said, share the best practices, take them into use that have been developed with some other organization and pass them on in, let's say, in regards of this whole profession, the technology profession?
We are a mining equipment provider. Our customers are mining customers. So one of the industries we will be part of naturally is the mining industry, because our customers are there. So there will be standards there, not necessarily of business and IT only, but more of technology or more of data formats and these kind of things. Then there will be at another level in our own industry, mining equipment providers, as an example, there could be some standards to follow there. And then we get down to the, inside the business, that there might be things that we will do, which could be potentially a practice that could be shared as a best practice with our peers, for example. So there are many different levels of all these frameworks and standards. The question is, with limited resources that we have, where do we participate? Which kind of standards bring us the most value? So I would think that our IT has been benefiting, if I understood both from you and from Vesa Airolainen, our CIO, who is very much an advocate of using these standards, and that is a good thing, I think. And yeah, so I fully support this kind of open source work, and we just need to find where is it that we can get value from and also provide value to the best.
Thinking where you are now and what you have done within your career and what kind of education you have had. So if you were to give an advice to anybody now thinking of doing the same kind of career than you have, so what would you advise? What kind of studies would be good?
Wow, yes, that's a very good question. I think it doesn't matter what you study. The one reason I can say with fact why it doesn't matter is I nowadays get approached by, I get contacted by companies who are specifically in the job of bringing new talent, IT talent from non-IT world. This is an incredible job that company does, for example. They have batches of students, if you will, at all levels of seniority, who come from any non-IT background. It could even be, at least that's what they told me, doctors or, nurses or military men or whatever it might be, people who want to change careers and come to IT. If you really want to be in this space, technology and IT, it won't matter what is your original background. What you need to have, not so much in terms of education, but more in terms of soft skills. I'm very much for the soft skills, because I have noticed that formal education sometimes doesn't necessarily get you to collaborate so much with people, but your soft skills do. So I would say focus more on building soft skills, collaboration skills, networking skills, and develop curiosity for knowing and understanding businesses and technology. So at least from my perspective, it's more about the soft rather than the hard skill. Yeah.
One last question regarding your work and life balance. And I guess, like many others, you are very busy at times. So it is very important to take care about yourself as well. So how do you do that?
We are all in these kind of jobs where flexibility is somehow inbuilt in my view. So the answers are at two levels from my perspective. One is naturally your body also gives up at some point. So that's a very nice natural inbuilt mechanism what we have. It just tells you you can't work and you won't work and your brain won't perform. So you can try, but it won't work. And my body tells me that for sure. And that's one thing, a natural inbuilt mechanism, and I get those signals and then I really stop. But then there is also this inspiration. I live in Finland, you are a Finn, and you know that inspiration comes here from also nature. So I am naturally attracted to nature as well, and I like to be in the nature to clear my head and focus, etc. So that is my second natural reason to break away from work and get out and into the woods and clean up my head a little bit and get some fresh thoughts. So listen to your body, what it is saying, and then listen to the nature, it's calling.
Very good, thank you. I think that was perfect.